Welcome to Miss Scarlett. Subscribe and don't miss out on Patreon. Have fun! As Franklin ventured up into the attic, each step on the aged wooden panels sent shivers down his spine. The dimly lit space welcomed him with a shower of dust particles, illuminated by the day's last rays. His golden locks shimmered in the light as he sighed at the sight of decades' worth of accumulated memories. Where's the best place to begin? Franklin thought aloud. His late grandmother's estate, a majestic Victorian abode, had become his responsibility after her recent passing. Among the various rooms, the attic loomed as a time capsule, beckoning him to unravel its historical significance. Among the sea of plain cartons lay an exquisite vanity, standing out with its gracefully curved legs and meticulous carvings, a subtle yet powerful contrast amidst the mundane surroundings. Franklin approached, running his fingers along the smooth wood. The mirror was clouded with age, offering only a hazy reflection of his tired face. He tugged open one of the small drawers, finding it empty save for a thick layer of dust. The second drawer yielded similar results, but in the third, nestled in the back corner, sat a small, purple vial. Franklin held it up to the fading light. The glass was etched with swirling patterns, but bore no label. He uncorked it, wafting the contents toward his nose. A faint, floral scent tickled his nostrils. Perfume, maybe? He wondered aloud. It seemed an odd thing for his grandmother to hide away. Franklin pocketed the vial, making a mental note to research it later. For now, the attic beckoned. He spent the next few hours sorting through boxes, setting aside photo albums, and parsing through old documents. By the time he called it quits, the sun had long since set. He trudged downstairs, his arms laden with a box of keepsakes. After a quick shower, Franklin collapsed onto his bed, clad in his usual sleeping attire of gray sweatpants and a white t-shirt. The purple vial sat on his nightstand, taunting him with its mystery. What the hell? He muttered, reaching for it. Might as well see what Grandma was hiding. Before he could second-guess himself, Franklin tipped the vial back and swallowed its contents. The liquid was surprisingly sweet, coating his tongue like honey. He set the empty vial aside and burrowed under the covers, exhaustion quickly pulling him into a deep sleep. Franklin's dreams were a kaleidoscope of swirling colors and shifting shapes. He tossed and turned, his body feeling simultaneously hot and cold. When consciousness finally returned, he groaned and stretched, his muscles aching as if he'd run a marathon. What a weird night, he mumbled, voice thick with sleep. He froze. That wasn't his voice. It was higher, softer, distinctly feminine. Franklin's eyes flew open. He sat up, gasping as unfamiliar weight settled on his chest. Long strands of blonde hair fell into his face. With trembling hands, he pushed the hair back, revealing slender fingers tipped with neatly manicured nails. What the fuck? He whispered, heart pounding. He scrambled out of bed, nearly tripping over his now too large sweatpants. The mirror above his dresser revealed a stranger, a woman with delicate features and wide, frightened eyes. Franklin stumbled to the bathroom, gripping the edge of the sink as he stared at his reflection. The face looking back was undeniably feminine, with high cheekbones and full lips. Long blonde hair cascaded past his shoulders. He ran his hands down his body, confirming what the mirror showed. He had transformed into a woman overnight. This can't be real, he muttered. I'm dreaming. I have to be dreaming. But no amount of pinching or splashing cold water on his face changed the reality of his situation. Somehow, impossibly, he had become female. Franklin's mind raced. The vial. It had to be the vial he'd found in his grandmother's vanity. But how? And why? He needed answers, but first he needed clothes that fit. He returned to the bedroom, rifling through his closet. To his shock, his usual wardrobe of jeans and t-shirts had vanished, replaced by an array of feminine attire. Dresses, skirts, and blouses in various styles and colors filled the space. "You've got to be kidding me," he groaned. With no other options, Franklin, or perhaps Noelle, as the name seemed to fit her new form, selected a blue floral sundress. She struggled with the unfamiliar clasps and zippers, but eventually managed to get it on. A pair of white sandals completed the outfit. Noelle stared at her reflection, hardly recognizing herself. The dress hugged her new curves, the hem falling just above her knees. Her long blonde hair framed her face, softening her features. She looked pretty. The thought was both thrilling and terrifying. "Okay," she said, taking a deep breath. "Think, Noelle. What would Grandma have to do with this?" She made her way downstairs, her steps uncertain in the unfamiliar sandals. The house seemed different somehow, as if it had shifted to accommodate her new form. Family photos on the walls now showed a young woman with blonde hair instead of the boy she remembered being. In the kitchen, Noelle found a note propped against the coffee maker. She recognized her grandmother's elegant script. "My dearest Noelle, if you're reading this, then you've discovered my final gift to you. I've always known your heart, even when you couldn't admit it to yourself. This transformation is irreversible, but I believe it's what you've always wanted. The life you were meant to live. All the necessary documents, birth certificate, driver's license, etc., have been updated. Your clothes and personal items have been adjusted accordingly. I know this is a lot to take in, but trust that I did this out of love. Live your truth, my darling granddaughter. All my love, Grandma." Noelle sank into a kitchen chair, her mind reeling. How had her grandmother known? She'd never told anyone about the secret longing she'd harbored, the feeling that she'd been born in the wrong body. It was a desire she'd buried deep, convinced it was impossible. But now, here she was, in the body she'd always dreamed of having. "Thank you, Grandma," she whispered, tears pricking at her eyes. The sound of the doorbell jolted Noelle from her reverie. She froze, panic setting in. How could she face anyone like this? But the bell rang again, more insistent this time. Taking a deep breath, Noelle smoothed down her dress and made her way to the front door. She opened it to find a woman about her age standing on the porch, a bright smile on her face. "Noelle, there you are. Are you ready for brunch?" Noelle blinked, struggling to process the situation. The woman clearly knew her, expected her. Was this part of her grandmother's plan? She stammered. The woman's smile faltered. "Are you okay? You look a little pale." Noelle forced a smile. "Sorry, I'm just a bit out of it this morning. Didn't sleep well." "Ah, gotcha. Well, some mimosas will fix that right up. Come on, the others are waiting." Before Noelle could protest, the woman had linked their arms and was steering her towards a waiting car. 3 other women waved from inside. "I don't think I can," Noelle started to say, but the woman was already opening the car door. "Nonsense! You've been looking forward to this girl's day all week. Hop in! Noelle hesitated for a moment, then climbed into the back seat. Maybe this was exactly what she needed. A crash course in being Noelle. The car ride was a whirlwind of chatter and laughter. Noelle struggled to keep up, gleaning bits of information about her new life. Apparently, she worked as a graphic designer and had known these women since college. They were headed to a trendy brunch spot downtown for their monthly get-together. As they pulled up to the restaurant, Noelle's nerves returned full force. How was she supposed to act? What if she said something wrong? "You coming, Noelle?" one of the women called. They were already heading inside. Taking a deep breath, Noelle stepped out of the car. She could do this. She had to do this. The restaurant was bustling with the Sunday brunch crowd. Noelle followed her friends to a table on the patio, the sunlight warm on her bare shoulders. She perused the menu, grateful for something to focus on. "So, Noelle," one of the women, Katie, she thought, said, "how's that big project coming along? You were so stressed about it last week." Noelle's mind raced. What project? She had no idea what Katie was talking about. "Oh, it's coming along," she said vaguely. "Still working out some details." Katie nodded sympathetically. "I'm sure you'll nail it. You always do." The waiter arrived to take their orders, saving Noelle from having to elaborate. She listened as the other women chatted, trying to absorb as much information as possible about her new life. As mimosas were served and food arrived, Noelle began to relax. The conversation flowed easily, and she found herself laughing at inside jokes she shouldn't have understood. It was as if some part of her remembered this life, even if her conscious mind was still catching up. "Oh my God, remember that time in college when Noelle tried to dye her hair purple?" One of the women, Jen, giggled. "It turned out more like eggplant." Noelle's hand flew to her blonde locks. "Hey, it wasn't that bad," she protested, the words coming naturally. "It absolutely was," Katie countered. "But you rocked it anyway. That's our Noelle. Always making the best of things." The warmth of belonging washed over Noelle. These women knew her, the real her, in a way she was only beginning to understand herself. As brunch wound down, Noelle found herself genuinely disappointed when they had to part ways. Hugs were exchanged, along with promises to meet up again soon. "Don't forget, we've got yoga on Tuesday," Jen called as they headed to their respective cars. Noelle waved goodbye, a smile on her face. The panic and confusion of the morning had faded, replaced by a growing sense of excitement. This was her life now, the life she'd always wanted, even if she hadn't known how to ask for it. Back at home, Noelle kicked off her sandals and flopped onto the couch. Her head was spinning, but in a good way. She had so much to learn, so much to explore, but for the first time in her life, she felt truly comfortable in her own skin. She picked up her phone, noticing several unread messages. One was from her boss, asking about the status of a project. Another was from someone named Mark, asking if she was free for dinner next week. A potential date, perhaps? Noelle set the phone aside, deciding to deal with those later. For now, she wanted to explore her new home and her new self. She wandered through the rooms, taking in the subtle changes. The decor was largely the same, but little touches here and there reflected her feminine tastes. Soft throw pillows on the couch, scented candles on the mantel, a collection of nail polishes on her bathroom counter. In her bedroom, Noelle opened her closet again. This time, instead of panic, she felt a thrill of excitement. She ran her hands over the various fabrics, Silky blouses, soft sweaters, structured blazers. A whole new world of fashion to explore. On impulse, she pulled out a crimson wrap dress. It was bolder than the sundress she'd chosen that morning, with a plunging neckline and a hem that hit mid-thigh. Noelle slipped it on, marveling at how it hugged her curves. She struck a pose in front of the mirror, then giggled at her own silliness. But the joy bubbling up inside her was real. This was right. This was her. As evening approached, Noelle ordered takeout and settled in for a quiet night at home. She had a lot to process, a lot to figure out, but for now, she was content to simply be. She curled up on the couch with a glass of wine, idly flipping through channels on TV. A romantic comedy caught her attention, the kind of movie she'd always secretly enjoyed, but felt like she couldn't admit to liking before. As she watched the on-screen couples meet cute, Noelle's thoughts drifted to her own romantic prospects. The text from Mark intrigued her. What was he like? Had they been on dates before? The idea of exploring relationships as her true self both excited and terrified her. Her phone buzzed with a new message. It was from Katie. "Hey girl, just wanted to check in. You seemed a little off at brunch. Everything okay?" Noelle smiled, touched by her friend's concern. She typed out a reply. "Thanks for checking in. Just had a weird morning, but feeling much better now. Looking forward to yoga on Tuesday." She set the phone down, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. She had friends who cared about her, a job she apparently excelled at, and a whole new life stretching out before her. It was overwhelming, but in the best possible way. As the credits rolled on the movie, Noelle yawned and stretched. The events of the day were catching up with her. She headed to the bathroom, realizing with a start that she had no idea how to remove makeup. After a bit of fumbling and some help from YouTube tutorials, she managed to cleanse her face. In her bedroom, Noelle hesitated before the dresser. What did she sleep in now? She rifled through drawers until she found a soft cotton nightgown. It felt strange against her skin, but not unpleasant. Crawling into bed, Noelle let out a contented sigh. Her first day as her true self had been a whirlwind, but she wouldn't have had it any other way. As sleep began to claim her, she whispered a quiet thank you to her grandmother for this incredible gift. The next morning, Noelle woke to the sound of her alarm. For a moment, she forgot everything that had happened. Then she felt the soft fabric of the nightgown against her skin, and it all came rushing back. She was Noelle now. This was her life. She sat up, running a hand through her long blonde hair. The panic of yesterday morning was gone, replaced by a sense of anticipation. What would this day bring? A glance at her phone reminded her that it was Monday, a work day. Noelle's stomach fluttered with nerves. How was she supposed to do a job she knew nothing about? "One step at a time," she muttered, swinging her legs out of bed. In the bathroom, Noelle stared at the array of makeup spread across the counter. She'd never applied makeup before, at least not that she could remember. But as she picked up a foundation brush, muscle memory seemed to take over. Her hands moved with surprising confidence, applying products in an order that felt natural. When she finished, Noelle barely recognized the face in the mirror. She looked polished, professional, and undeniably feminine. A smile tugged at her lips. She could get used to this. Back in her bedroom, Noelle surveyed her closet. What did a graphic designer wear to work? She settled on a pair of black slacks and a silky emerald blouse, paired with low heels. Professional, but with a creative flair. As she was putting the finishing touches on her outfit, Noelle's phone buzzed. It was a text from someone named David. "Morning, Noelle! Don't forget we have that client meeting at 10. See you at the office." Noelle's heart raced. A client meeting? She didn't even know where her office was, let alone anything about her clients or projects. Taking a deep breath, she grabbed her phone and typed "Graphic Design Office" into her Maps app. To her relief, a result popped up not far from her house. At least she knew where she was going. Noelle gathered what she hoped were the right items for work: laptop, notebook, pens, and headed out. The drive to the office was nerve-wracking. She kept expecting someone to stop her, to call her out as an imposter, but no one did. The office building was modern and sleek. Noelle parked and made her way inside, praying she looked like she knew where she was going. In the lobby, a friendly security guard waved her through. "Morning, Noelle. New hairstyle? Looks great." Noelle managed a smile and a wave, relief washing over her. She belonged here. Now she just had to figure out exactly where "here" was. She followed a group of professionally dressed people into an elevator, studying the directory on the wall. Wilson Creative Group caught her eye. That sounded like a design firm. Getting off on the 5th floor, Noelle found herself in a bustling, open-plan office. Desks were arranged in clusters, with art and design mock-ups covering the walls. It was exactly the kind of creative space she'd always dreamed of working in. "Noelle." A man about her age approached, grinning. This must be David. "Great, you're here. Ready to wow the clients?" Noelle nodded, hoping her panic didn't show on her face. "Absolutely. Just let me drop my things at my desk first." David pointed to a desk in the corner. "Meet you in the conference room in 10. At her desk, Noelle found some salvation. Her computer's desktop was meticulously organized, with folders labeled for different clients and projects. She quickly scanned through the most recent files, gleaning enough information to at least sound somewhat knowledgeable. The client meeting went better than Noelle could have hoped. She let David take the lead, chiming in with comments about color schemes and typography that seemed to impress both the clients and her colleagues. By the time the meeting wrapped up, Noelle felt a surge of confidence. She could do this. The rest of the day passed in a blur of design work, client calls, and collaboration with her team. To Noelle's surprise, she found she had a natural eye for design. Ideas flowed easily, her hands moving deftly across her tablet as she sketched out concepts. As she was packing up to leave, David stopped by her desk. "Great work today, Noelle. That logo redesign for the eco-friendly company? Brilliant. Keep it up, and that promotion is as good as yours." Noelle beamed, a warm glow of pride spreading through her chest. "Thanks, David. I'm really excited about where that project is going." On the drive home, Noelle couldn't stop smiling. She'd not only survived her first day at work, but excelled. This life, her new life, was everything she'd ever wanted. Back at home, Noelle kicked off her heels with a sigh of relief. As comfortable as she felt in her new body, she was still getting used to the realities of women's fashion. She changed into yoga pants and a loose t-shirt, relishing the comfort. As she was heating up leftovers for dinner, her phone buzzed. It was Mark, the guy who had texted about dinner. "Hey, Noelle, just checking in about dinner this week. Still up for trying that new Italian place on Thursday?" Noelle bit her lip, considering. Was she ready to dive into dating? But then again, when would she ever feel fully ready? This was part of her new life, too. "Thursday sounds great," she typed back. "Looking forward to it." As she ate her dinner, Noelle's mind wandered to the date. What would it be like to be on a date as a woman? To be looked at, desired, in this new body? The thought sent a shiver of excitement down her spine. But first, she had yoga to survive tomorrow. Noelle groaned, remembering her complete lack of flexibility. Well, she thought with a chuckle, at least she'd look cute in her yoga pants. That night, as Noelle drifted off to sleep, she felt a sense of peace she'd never known before. She was living authentically, finally in the body she was meant to have. There would be challenges ahead, no doubt, but for now, she was exactly where she needed to be. The next few weeks passed in a whirlwind of activity as Noelle settled into her new life. Each day brought new experiences and challenges, but also a deepening sense of comfort in her own skin. Yoga, as it turned out, was both harder and more rewarding than Noelle had anticipated. That first class had been a comedy of errors, with Noelle toppling over during warrior pose and getting hopelessly tangled in a strap during a hamstring stretch. But her friends had been encouraging, and the instructor patient. By the third class, Noelle was starting to find her balance, both physically and metaphorically. Work continued to be a source of joy and accomplishment. Noelle threw herself into her projects with enthusiasm, her natural creativity flourishing in ways it never had before. She found herself looking forward to client meetings, confidently presenting her ideas and basking in the positive feedback. And then there was Mark. Their first date had been a delightful mix of nerves and excitement. Noelle had agonized over what to wear, finally settling on a little black dress that made her feel both elegant and sexy. Mark had been a perfect gentleman, pulling out her chair and listening attentively as she spoke. As the weeks went by, Noelle and Mark went on more dates. She found herself opening up to him in ways she never had with anyone before. There was a freedom in being able to express her emotions without the constraints she'd felt in her previous life. One evening, as they strolled hand in hand through a moonlit park, Mark turned to her with a soft smile. "Noelle, I have to say, there's something different about you lately. You seem more radiant, more confident. It's beautiful to see." Noelle's heart swelled. If only he knew how different she truly was. But in that moment, she realized that this was who she had always been inside. The external change had simply allowed her true self to shine through. "Thank you," she said softly, squeezing his hand. "I feel more myself than I ever have before." As autumn turned to winter, Noelle found herself fully embracing her new life. She threw herself into holiday preparations with gusto, decorating her home and planning gatherings with friends. The joy she felt in these traditionally feminine activities was untainted by the shame or confusion she might have felt in her past life. On Christmas Eve, Noelle hosted a small dinner party for her closest friends. As she moved around the kitchen in a festive red sweater dress, putting the finishing touches on the meal, she caught sight of her reflection in the window. The woman looking back at her was confident, happy, and utterly at ease in her own skin. A wave of gratitude washed over her. She thought of her grandmother, wishing she could thank her for this incredible gift. But, in a way, Noelle realized she was thanking her grandmother every day, by living her life to the fullest, by embracing every moment of this second chance she'd been given. As her friends arrived, filling the house with laughter and warmth, Noelle felt a sense of belonging she'd never experienced before. This was her life now, full of love, purpose, and authenticity. And she wouldn't have it any other way. The new year brought fresh challenges and opportunities. Noelle threw herself into her work with renewed vigor, taking on more complex projects and mentoring junior designers. Her confidence grew with each success, and she found herself being looked to as a leader in her firm. In her personal life, things with Mark continued to deepen. Noelle struggled at times with whether to tell him about her past, but ultimately decided that her journey was her own. She was Noelle now, in every way that mattered. As spring blossomed, bringing new life to the world around her, Noelle reflected on her own rebirth. It had been nearly a year since she'd taken that fateful drink from the purple vial. A year of discovery, growth, and joy. She still thought of her old life sometimes, of the person she used to be. But those memories felt distant now, like a story she'd read about someone else. This was who she was meant to be all along. One sunny afternoon, as Noelle tended to the garden her grandmother had loved so much, she felt a sense of peace wash over her. She imagined her grandmother watching over her, smiling at the woman she'd become. "Thank you," Noelle whispered to the wind, "for everything." As she stood up, brushing dirt from her floral sundress, Noelle caught sight of her reflection in the kitchen window. Her blonde hair gleamed in the sunlight, her cheeks flushed with health and happiness. She smiled at herself, no longer surprised by the face looking back at her. This was Noelle. This was her life, and it was beautiful.
Thanks for watching, my girlies! Be sure to check out Patreon for more!